This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at live video of Chawla working in the Space Hab Research Double Module with the combustion module. She's working on a procedure to try and get the MIST experiment back online. That's an experiment that's going to use the combustion module to study using water mist to put out flames. The MIST experiment did fail a leak check yesterday, and engineers on the ground have put together a recovery procedure, and Chawla continued to move through that procedure.
Yeah, I think I gave her about, I can't remember how many extras I gave her. I gave her probably
Stephanie, we are in step 13 and we do not see continuity. Softball pretest. Secure.
check coaxial cable. Q101. C026. WC 7900. Atomizer net connections secured.
So, not sure what we are going to do. UPC mode.
Here's Dave coming to work with his instruments.
For anybody on the blue team, but especially the two rookies, launch day is going to be the most exciting day of your life, I assume, and then a couple of hours later, while the rest of the crew gets Space Hab going and everything else, you guys get to go to sleep.
Sure. Really, within the combustion module, we are going to be doing 3 different experiments. The first one studies soot formation, and the reason we are doing it in space is, first of all, soot is a bad thing. It means bad for the environment, bad for human health, bad for fuel efficiency. So the combustion chemists want to figure out how to reduce the amount of soot by modeling. And one way to model soot is to study the turbulent diffusion flames, because these diffusion flames produce soot. However, in combustion chemistry, when you have turbulence and soot, these are 2 very hard problems. These are the hardest problems. So the chemists have figured out, the combustion chemists and the modelers, that if we can make this problem simpler, that is, take the turbulence part out and just study soot, then perhaps we can extend whatever we learn to the turbulent soot forming flames that we have on Earth. So we go to space because the laminar diffusion flames behave just like the turbulent diffusion flames, and only place where we can have these laminar diffusion flames is space or microgravity. The part that you talked about, how we burn these things and the safety aspect of it, basically the flames are burnt in an enclosed module, what we call the experiment chamber. And it's the amount of fuel we are putting in there is really very, very small. And after the fuel is used up, it's the combustion products, which are basically benign. We vent them to space. And even then we do analysis to find out what's left out there. Besides this one experiment, since Mike alluded to a number of experiments in flames, we have 2 more which we do within the combustion module. The second one studies what's called flame balls. This one is actually, for people who are intrigued by basic science, a very interesting experiment, because long time ago a Russian scientist, just while solving mathematical equations, figured that for a certain set of equations you have a solution in just spherical geometry, that you would get flame balls. Now in 1G, the gravity that we live in, it's really not possible to see an evidence of that. So the equations were solved, the solution was shown, but nobody really thought anything of it till this professor, Dr. Ronnie from University of California, he was doing drop tower tests and found in this very small video that he had captured, lo and behold, there are flame balls. And he remembered this particular equation from his college days and correlated the two and then carried on a few more experiments. And his interest perked to put this particular experiment in space because, one, you are doing these flame balls at the leanest possible mixture settings. So it's a good thing in fuel combustion efficiency if you can do something at the leanest possible fuel mixture ratio, because it obviously saves you a lot of fuel. The second thing is, if we can model this aspect, then we have done part of the combustion chemistry problem and rest of the equation set becomes simpler. So in order to see this and correlate with the equations, he actually flew this particular experiment on STS-93. And then they learned a lot of lessons while doing the parametric studies, and on our flight it's being done in a lot more detail. And the third experiment is MIST, where again within the experiment module we have a tube where fuel and air are pre-mixed, and we burn the flame essentially to figure out or come up with a method for better fire suppression. Now, why do we want to do that? Because most of the conventional methods use toxic materials which are becoming outdated, and there's constant pressure to come up with better, more user-friendly materials for fire suppression efficacy. In this particular experiment called MIST, basically a flame would move in this chamber and mist is imparted on it, and we study different parameters like the speed and the size of these particles which interact with the flame to see what size is the best size, etc. So those are the three big experiments where we make flames or play with fire, as Mike said.
6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission to build, resupply, and to do research on the International Space Station.
Houston now controlling. Atlantis begins its penultimate journey to shore up the International Space Station. Atlantis now on the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Outpost. 30 seconds into the flight. Atlantis almost 2 miles in altitude, almost 6 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center already, traveling 500 miles an hour. The 3 liquid fuel main engines now throttling back to 72% of rated performance, going into the bucket, reducing the stress on the shuttle as it breaks through the sound.
Let's give you an idea of who's who. This is Ilan Ramon, the first Israeli ever to fly in space. Kalpana'S Chawla, mission specialist on her second mission. Rick Husband, the commander, second mission. Laurel Clark, another space rookie. Bookended by space rookies here. Commander Husband, let's talk first of all about how everything's going. You got a menagerie of animals up there, too many scientific experiments to enumerate here, but generally speaking, how's it going?
That whole crew, they knew the risk. I mean, every astronaut down there, since all this happened, I've gotten to become pretty close, but things could go bad. They hope and pray that they won't. But they knew the risk, and I mean, before the launch, they're all, of course, they were all excited about it, really looking forward to going up and doing their mission.
Thank you very much. And you too.
Colombia. Hello, Colombia. This is Prime Minister Gujral from India. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Gujral, I hear you loud and clear. How do you read me?
Kalpana, we are proud of you. Each one of us in India is proud of us. Proud of a person like you who has done such a pioneering work. And particularly the women and youth of India take great deal of pride in seeing what you have done in the space. My hearty congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
You know, when I think of you, I think what a long journey you have covered from Karnal to space, long distance. And therefore, when I talk to you, I feel I'm talking to a person who is representing India in the space now. My all good wishes to you.
Thank you, sir, very much. Those are very kind words.
You know, Kalpana, I do not know if you remember, there is a saying by one of our poets who is very well known in the subcontinent, Iqbal. He said, "Sitaron se aage jahan aur bhi hain. There are worlds beyond stars, and now you have seen them. How do you feel about them?"
It's a very special feeling, and really out here, the night sky, when you look at it, what you are saying does become very literal. It's a dome of a dark sky and stars everywhere, and the earth, last time covered with thunderstorms here and there, with some small sprays of lightning, and every once in a while, city lights the clouds. And it is very much like a storybook. And the crew that I'm working with out here, all of us work so well together, and it's such an honor and privilege to be able to share this very special mission with them.
You know, it's a wonderful feeling that your journey has expanded the frontiers of science and technology. And also at the same time, you have built another new and very formidable and a strong bridge between India and America.
Sir, I'm very glad that I am, if you say so, I'm able to do that.
And in orbit, Kalpana, how do you feel without weightlessness? Is it very difficult experience?
Well, I'm wondering if I should put my gloves on first.
Probably a good idea.
Okay, I'll do that. The recorder is on. The V10.
Okay. Okay. And KCS going to the cards.
Yep. Do you have any more drink bags?
I've got one. Here's SM alert, download RHC. That must have been me.
Yeah.
Go back to auto.
Yeah.
That's it.
Follow this one. Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's going to be a good idea for me to drink it. I think I'll just finish the third one.
JC, can you put that in here? If I can.
I might be able to slide it down in here.
No, give it to me. We'll put it back here. I think that's safer. Make sure the straw's closed.
Will you be able to get to it if I...
No.
Okay.
Do you think you want to drink it?
Well, let's go and keep it here for a little while. Just in case.
Okay.
I'll keep it right here for the time being. 2 minutes.
You're going to keep that
5 off 304 road.
Yep. Concur.
I'm going to drop this clock down and out of the way. I'll make it with it.
Not right now, though. I'm going to get rid of it, but okay.
You need one with a minute 30 out of attention. I got it right here.
You can otherwise forget about it. Thanks for tomorrow. Be out on this fire. Next.
Roger that. Columbia Houston for Rick. We'll take another item 27, please. Oh, shoot.
Looks good. Where did we miss that?
Well, I went back to auto, but I needed to do an item 27.
Oh.
And thanks for that, Houston. We give you an item 27. We bumped the stick earlier. I didn't know that. Not a problem, Rick. Yeah, I didn't either. I forgot. I thought the needles weren't really going where they needed to be, so...
want to queue up, Rick, if you like? Ops 3 or 4?
Sure. Get the card turned over.
Okay.
Alright, check LVLH attitude. We come back to LVLH. Good. That's looking good. We go laps 3, 4.
Yep, looking good.
Good. And Houston will get to 304 at 5 minutes. Rick, we're ready for Ops 304. Here it comes.
Looks good.
304. 304. And she comes to life.
Casey, will you put this on the back of your seat?
Yes, I got it. Will you?
Yeah.
Here's one for the trash bag.
Okay, and, oh wow. Just float it back slightly, gently, and float that back gently too. I was acting 1G. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so now we are looking for Q bar of 1, but that's on AOA, so 22, 10, 16 is when we see guidance box.
Roger that.
Had to go a little bit more now, Laura.
Yep.
So,
Okay, all that's working. It's noisy in there, isn't it?
Do you see over my shoulder, Laura?
I was feeling it doesn't show up nearly as much as the back.
It's going pretty good now. And it's really neat. It's a bright orange yellow out over the nose, all around the nose.
Now do you start seeing the swirl patterns at your, like left or right windows?
Wow.
Looks like a blast furnace. See here. Look at that.
Yep, we're getting some G. Let go of the card and it falls. I got a bit slip here on the XL now.
Yep. Alright, we're at 100th of a G.
This is amazing. It's really getting fairly bright out there.
Yep. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be outside now.
Like we did before.
I got the back Laura.
Really, I can see you in your mirror.
Not yet?
Yeah, now I can.
I can see your camera.
Okay.
Okay, stop playing. 22, 10, 52 is what we were looking for.
Okay. 10, 16, right? I got 16 right here.
Yeah, 22, 10, 16.
Yeah, 22, 10,